Recently, I've seen something that demands a comment. The following is my opinion and not necessarily the view of anybody else. The upcoming auction of articles taken from the ocean bottom side of the Titanic strikes me as highly unethical and improper. I'm surprised we've seen so little public objection to it by archaeologists. The people selling the artifacts are trying to convince everybody that they're contributing to the public good. Actually, they've looted the site and now are about to cash in. When Robert Ballard and his partners located the Titanic in 1985, the world rejoiced at the news. Ballard declared that the ship and the surrounding debris field was a burial site to be preserved intact forever. However, history has proved him wrong. He returned to the wreck in 1986 to place a plaque on it, urging that the site be left untouched as a memorial. The U.S. Congress passed a law in that year to encourage international protection of what is obviously a highly important cultural heritage and archaeological site, but still the legal protections are weak. Private artifact salvaging began there in 1987, and soon rival salvage companies were battling in a Virginia court. Eventually, a company called RMS Titanic secured the salvage rights and has collected objects from the debris field for 25 years. When Ballard visited the site again in 2004 with National Geographic, he found it badly deteriorated, largely from treasure hunters and adventurers visiting the Titanic in submarines. He counted between 100 and 200 previous visits. He complained about numerous objects, between 8,000 and 9,000, having been removed from the debris field. And he noted that visitors had dumped debris onto the ship and the area around it. More recently, the Virginia court ruled that RMS Titanic can auction a collection of more than 5,500 artifacts on condition that they be sold in one lot and made available for public interpretation and scientific study. The collection has been appraised at $189 million, and the auction takes place on April 11th at Guernsey's in New York City. In 2004, Robert Ballard said this, quote, "The deep sea has more than 1 million ships of antiquity, and that's what we're concerned about. As the Titanic goes, so goes human history beneath the sea. Everyone knows the Titanic. So let's see if we can use the Titanic to save these other ships." Unquote. Ironically, Ballard is not an archaeologist, and few archaeologists have objected to the treatment of the Titanic site or the sale of the artifacts. It took 25 years after the finding of the wreck before professional archaeologists actually engaged in serious research there. In 2010, the salvage company RMS Titanic organized some professional research organizations to document the site with high-tech imaging. That group included Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, the Waite Institute, the Institute of Nautical Archaeology, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, and the National Park Service Submerged Resources Center. We still haven't seen the results of that work, which hopefully will live up to expectations. But it came a bit late to document the thousands of artifacts that already had been removed from the site. You might ask why I'm concerned. After all, the artifacts are safe and the site apparently has been documented. Well, here's the thing. Archaeological sites, whether on the land or under the sea, are fragile resources that can reveal a detailed story about past events if we handle them properly. First, they need to be protected, just like a crime scene, so that the evidence remains intact. And then we should approach them carefully and systematically, so that they tell us as much as possible about what happened. Beyond that, the Titanic is in fact a grave site where more than 1,500 people perished. Back in 1912, the personal items recovered from the surface were burned to keep them out of the hands of souvenir hunters. After the wreck was found, some of the remaining survivors worried that people would defile the final resting place of their loved ones. All the survivors are gone now, yet we should approach the place with lots of respect. But those who have removed objects from the site are not archaeologists. They are in fact treasure hunters, whose primary motive is profit. Early efforts to protect the site from such people have failed. We may never know precisely where each collected item was found. No publication exists for the 27 years of work done on the site. We won't know the collection's new owners or their qualifications until the sale is completed. As an archaeologist with an interest in protecting cultural heritage sites, I'm appalled at this auction, the collection methods, and the treatment of the site. I'm appalled that otherwise responsible professional organizations agreed to collaborate with a treasure hunting company for the 2010 mapping project. My hat is off to the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which has declared it will never display the artifacts about to be auctioned. And consider this: if we can't protect one of the most prominent ocean bottom sites in the world, how can we expect to preserve the thousands of other submerged sites all over the globe?